My name's Katy. I'm the Associate Director of Nursing at Mid and South Essex Hospitals. For us, it's the adaptability of beetroot that is the thing that serves us really well. We know that we can use it in various different ways against different tumour groups. Obviously, the tumour groups are very, very different. Patient cohort is very, very different. The disease progression is very different. Everything acts in a way that you can't really predict to be able to build a model that would move from one tumour site to the next. So the beauty of beetroot is that we're able to kind of use it in a way that facilitates the services as best as possible, but it is also adaptable so that we can move away and think, actually, that's not quite the right way that we need to be looking at it. Our nurses lead that process with the clinicians, and so we can step back, look at the process, come to you guys, have a conversation, say, actually, we need to turn beetroot in this direction for us to capture this cohort, for us to be able to bring about this effect of change. And by doing that, it just means that everything is really bespoke, and that isn't just to the tumour site. We can really bespoke it to each individual patient, which with many digital services that we have in the NHS isn't something that is readily available. So that's why it's so unique and why we want to keep a hold of it and drive it into as many tumour sites as possible. So at the moment we're using it for stratified follow-up, so personal stratified follow-up in a number of different tumour sites. That's allowing us to follow the process of patients through, make sure that they're clinically monitored in a remote way with easy access back into services should they need. It's also a way for the clinicians to monitor remotely those patients that they would generally be not too concerned about, but concerned enough that we need to look at them clinically through a clinical lens. It gives us the opportunity to do that. Alongside that, we need to also remember that patients don't just come with a clinical diagnosis, they also have thoughts, feelings, they have a personality. We need to be looking after that as well. And so with the beauty of beetroot, we're able to look at the holistic needs of those patients and detail the holistic needs assessments. That style of working with the patients is allowing us to use patient prompts, so we're able to send out questionnaires, again very bespoke to the tumour site, to the patient group that we're looking after, to make sure that we are getting it right and we are looking at what needs to occur for that patient along that part of their journey and their pathway. For us, from a nursing perspective, we're very excited to use beetroot in nurse-led follow-ups. At the moment, stratified follow-up is a nurse-led service, but it is clinically led. If we can move beetroot across onto the nurse-led follow-up platform, it will mean that we can run many more patients through our nurse-led services, keeping a hold of that cohort and understanding what the activity looks like. Once we understand what the activity looks like, what those patient groups need, we're able then to expand the workforce into those areas so that we can be really responsive to the patient group instead of being reactive, which is something that the NHS does sit upon quite regularly. So it will be a really new way of working, a new way of thinking, but certainly an area that needs to be expanded into and one that we're really looking into doing at MSE. I think for the nursing staff, certainly the system is very user-friendly and very helpful. The fact that it can be monitored and run by administration takes away the administration part of beetroot, so the nurses can concentrate purely on the clinical side. An example of that would be a patient that, let's say, has completed a H&A, holistic needs assessment, and wishes to have a clinical callback. They're able to tick a box on that form to say, I would like a clinical callback. That comes through to us as a red alert. That then is forwarded on to the CNS directly. They have a period of time, which the CNS denotes that period of time when we set the system up, as to how and when they will return that call back to that patient. Which means not only are we, again being bespoke, we're looking after the patient need, but it gives that clinical duty back to the CNS and has taken away that initial triaging process that the admin team can do for us. Another example of that is the H&A coming through again and being completed and it all being green. So essentially the patient is happy, ticking along at home, really comfortable and confident in the service that they're being monitored by. That doesn't need to come to the clinicians, it doesn't need to come to the clinical nurse specialist, so it stays with the admin, it's processed in a way that it sits on the records, and then we're able to pick it up should we need to in regards to running processes, or if we need to pull a report to show us the amount of patients that are there. We think that it is a service that isn't necessarily being used for follow-up elsewhere. Other follow-up services are quite rigid in their structure, They're usually an add-on, a bolt-on to another digital service, whereas beetroot for us is standalone. It's completely flexible. We can build into it what we need. And as we've already spoken about, we're using it for stratified follow-up at the moment. We've looked at using it for rapid diagnostics. We are using it for our holistic needs assessment. We're now doing follow-up with our radiotherapy patients, and that's via the route of patient proms. So there's lots of different ways in which you can use it. And as I've already alluded to with the nursing aspect for clinical nurse specialists and mobilising that workforce, it will be for us using it in those nurse-led follow-ups, which will be the key to unlocking a lot of oncology capacity. Whereas previously we didn't have that at our fingertips, and now we do. So it will be building beetroot into that process to support us in hopefully being one of the first trusts across the region to run an operational cancer nursing workforce.